chocolate trees, check your pants, check your seeds, sipping herbal tea and fight for menstrual equity. Hey, I kick cramps at. Kick cramps at. Kick cramps. Kick cramps. Kick cramps. Kick cramps. Kick cramps. You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Hello, everybody. Happy Menstruation Monday. You have entered into the Kick Cramps Ass podcast, where I am your host, Brittany Walker. And today it is Monday, May 22nd. We've reached episode 4, and we're going to be conquering the world's leading deficiency. So let's go ahead and get started. You know, I like to kick off each episode with the I am power statement, I representing inspiration, A representing affirmation, and M representing manifestation. So the I am power statement for today is I will be more aware of the types and amounts of nutrients I place into my body daily in order to achieve a better menstrual cycle journey. Ashe. And so it is. All right, guys, the book of the day, this season we're going to be tackling Energy's Formula to Kick Cramps Ass, a blueprint to naturally get rid of menstrual cramps, written by myself, Brittany Walker. For those of you who are watching on Spotify and YouTube, you will be able to see everything that I'm putting in the camera. But if you are listening to just the audio, I will be sure to include all of the resources in the description of our episode. So before we get started, I always like to have some tea on deck. We have created our own Cramp elixir. As you can see, we have our Chrysocolla tea diffuser as well that is filled with our Cramp elixir, which is actually our highlight product of this month, with May being Menstruation Month. If you check out our most recent blog on kickcrampsass.org, you can see us talking about our Cramp elixir and all of the great things that it includes and what some of the healing agents are for this tea. Guys, there's over 20 different healing agents in just this tea pack. All right, guys. So it has hibiscus, red raspberry leaf, calendula, motherwort, nettles, vervain, ashwagandha, chash tree, mugwort, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, orange peel, and lemon peel. It is so good. Really, really like it. And if you want the tea, you can get the tea on our website. It is available. We also have our tea infuser that's available, or you can buy them as a combo pack. And if you happen to subscribe to our website to keep up with the latest news, events, resources, and also with our blogs, you will receive a special discount when you subscribe on your first order. So be sure to do so on kickcrampsass.org. So let's go ahead and get started for today. We will be tackling the world's leading deficiency, which happens to be iron. Iron is something that you would think that we would have an overabundance of, because you hear how there's so much iron in meat, especially red meat. You hear a lot of people that are trying to build muscle or bodybuilding, that they're adding a lot of meat into their diet. For those who may be anemic, iron anemia, where when you have a loss of blood, you get really lightheaded, faint, you really get lethargic, and a lot of people who menstruate experience that because of the loss of blood that we're having each month. However, there are many forms of iron that you can get in other areas that are more beneficial and more healthy for you, that can make this not be the world's leading deficiency. So we're going to kick off this episode with diving into our chapter. As you know, we do a quick reading each episode. For season 1, we are breaking down the entire book of Kick Cramps Ass. So look at it as like an audio book to an extent, with some additional cliff notes. But we are talking about chapter 3. So we have had the opportunity to read the introduction, the foreword by Staff Sergeant Jeanette Williams. Shout out to her, from the United States Army, who is now a veteran. We talked about the actual formula during episode 3. So now moving forward for the remainder of the season, we're going to break down each factor in our formula in more detail so you can have a better understanding of how you can achieve wound wellness and find a better menstrual cycle routine that works for you. We're not saying that you have to go by our formula. We're just letting you know what worked for us, what has worked for our clients, and you can definitely take time to research on your own to see what really works for you. Try different things out to see what is going to help you in your journey of menstrual cycles. Because of course we start our menstrual cycles in our early teens, preteen years, and we have it up into sometimes 60s and 60s and 70s. Some people might have early menopause, but the average woman has her cycle up into her 60s. So we want to try to see if we still have 20, 30, or 40 more years worth of going through our menstrual cycles. We want to determine what practices best works for us. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started with reading. Again, we're going to start with chapter 3, which is the world's leading deficiency. So we start off with an actual statistic and quote from other case studies and researchers and health practitioners that have studied the women's health field, that's cognizant of uterine health practices and things of that sort. So among women of reproductive age, menstrual blood loss is the most common cause of ID and IDA, which is iron deficiency or iron deficiency anemia. And that was by Fernandez Jimenez back in 2020. All right, guys. Iron happens to be the most prominent nutrient deficiency across the globe. Although red meat and eggs are recommended as sources of iron, one may potentially think the deficit would not be at an all-time high. Iron is an essential micronutrient needed for development growth, primarily to aid in transporting oxygen throughout the body. This mineral makes hemoglobin, a protein in the red blood cells, and is also used to produce hormones in the body. Your iron levels decrease as you lose blood each month. If you are not adequately replacing the lost iron, this can lead to iron anemia. Low levels of this nutrient may lead to being extremely fatigued, inflammation, weakness, or feeling cold. Some of these symptoms are identical to PMS, so it is imperative that we acquire a legitimate amount as frequently as possible. Why not get ahead of the game by maintaining a positive level of iron versus suffering after the damage is already done? So, New Nation Goddess, also known as Brittany Walker, N&G recommends increasing your iron intake 7 days leading up to your cycle. This is providing the body with enough iron to replace what will be lost. Plant forms of iron tend to provide an adequate source that is organic and free of genetically modified objects, also known as GMOs, toxins, or chemicals. The foods packed with iron that have been frequent in our diet are quinoa. Throw some herbs and spices to give it some flavor because it is not as delectable as some might say it is. You definitely want to make it to your liking, but making sure that you're not adding ingredients that's going to hinder the nutrients. Chickpeas or garbanzo beans, teff. So teff is one of the most oldest grains known to man. It is one of the most nutrient rich grains known to man. It settles back, if you look at the ancient history, into Africa, which you will always hear me represent the continent that I came from. Now, you can find teff in injera bread. That's the most popular form that you could probably find it in the United States. And injera bread you can find at traditional Ethiopian restaurants. It is the actual bread or dish that they give you to eat your food with when you're using your fingers. But you could also get it in rice form, pasta form, things of that sort. Seeds. My favorite happen to be hemp, pumpkin, and chia. Hemp seeds, because hemp can be used for so many different things, gasoline, paper, clothes, things of that sort, but it has amazing healing agents for the body. Pumpkin seeds are really also good for skin health and providing you with omega-3 fatty acids that are imperative that you would normally be able to get from like salmon and tuna. And chia, that's the most common that you can find. Chia is something I'll throw in like overnight oats or something like in a smoothie that will aid in flushing out toxins and things in your body, but it does provide a substantial amount of iron. Leafy greens, collard, kale, and spinach. I'm always going to go with collard first. Why? Because collards are actually more healthier than kale, whether you want to believe it or not. Do your research. I'm from the southern part of the United States, so collard greens is something that is embedded in my cultural foods. But if you eliminate all the fatty foods, the cholesterol, the butter, the seasonings that have a lot of added salt and sugar in them, then it will actually be a really healthy item for you. Legumes, so lentils, whole grains, beans, peas. One of my favorite things to eat, and I probably can eat this every single day, is red beans. It's a Louisiana thing. It's the Cajun brewing through my blood, but just making sure that I are consuming those things every day. Nuts. My favorite happens to be walnuts, cashews, or pecans. Most people say, well, what about almonds? What about peanuts? Yeah, those are good as well. But I like to go with alkaline items and items that I know that were not man-made, that yes, and I said that are not man-made, that did not come over centuries. I'm relying on things that were already on earth, that actually help with providing realistic nutrients and not just things that look good and taste good. Mushrooms, preferably chopped or minced so it could be easily folded into a recipe. So making like minced ground beef with them when I have my spaghetti is a alternative of how I utilize mushrooms. And then berries. Berries actually provide a really great source of iron. So elderberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. Moving forward, have other quotes and statistics listed in the book. So the next quote up is, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X. All right. Shout out to Uncle Malcolm. It is May. Birthday was just the other day. Happy solar return. May you rest in power. So to keep moving, to take it a step further, incorporate iron into your daily meals. This will aid in decreasing your cramps and assist with your overall health. It is vital to digest iron daily. And this will be described in more detail in the section labeled plant-based diet. So we will have an actual chapter talking about all the foods that has been instrumental in conquering not having any period pains or enfeebling PMS symptoms. The chlorophyll in leafy greens will not only boost your iron levels, but also reduce inflammation, heavy bleeding, and regulate moods. When your body has an adequate amount of iron, once menstruation begins, the loss of blood will not tamper with your body temperature nor increase inflammation. When you tend to get cold, that causes inflammation and cramps to develop in your body. We want to be able to regulate your temperature, and losing that blood is pushing significant amounts of iron through that blood loss. If you notice that your inflammation is starting to kick in, then I recommend using a heating pad. I have been rocking the same heating pad ever since I started my cycle in 2000. Yes, I actually started my cycle in the year 2000. This is 23 years I have been dealing with this. It was originally my tea lady's, aka my mother, my top lady, and she had it before I was even born. Let's just say this vintage heating pad is still serving its purpose whenever I use it throughout the year. I don't use it as often as I used to, but when I do use it, it still has its great purpose. Now, the hottest selection does not work anymore. However, it still does the trick and has herstory, not just history, but herstory. All right, guys. So that concludes the chapter 3, the world's largest deficiency, which is iron. So again, guys, this is something you should be consuming on a daily basis. If you're consuming breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks, beverages throughout the day, I try to incorporate iron into every single one of those meals on a daily basis. So my body has time to not only digest and absorb the nutrient, but have no lack thereof. Okay. Um, you want to try to, for instance, let's give an example of that meal breakdown. So for breakfast, we mentioned seeds, we mentioned fruits. That's something you can incorporate into a smoothie. You can incorporate into an oatmeal. You can incorporate into an acai bowl that you make on your own. All right. Let's say that you're having a breakfast hash. You can incorporate leafy greens into that hash. So you can have kale, collards, or even spinach incorporated. All right, guys. So that's an alternative for breakfast. When it comes to lunch, you can use the mushrooms, the beans, the lentils. You can use the collard greens. You can incorporate the nuts as well. So something that I like to do, I like to make cashew cheese. So cashews can be used, a cashew cheese can be used on anything. It can be used on nachos. It could be used on sandwiches. It could be used in a cheese dip. It could be used in a lasagna. It's so many different ways to incorporate the cashew cheese into the meal. So that could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner as well. Even adding cheese, cashew cheese onto your salads. Okay. If you want to talk about snacks, we said nuts again. You can eat those nuts with your snack. You can again incorporate them into a smoothie. So as you can see, I already just listed different entrees that can be incorporated into your meal, in your dinner meal as well. When it comes to making like a dessert, if you want to make like a raw cheesecake, if you want to do like a pie, a brownie, cookie, even a fruit bowl, incorporate berries into their fruit bowl, maybe you could use nuts and seeds into those other items that I listed that was not fruit bowls. So those are ways that you can incorporate and make sure that you're having the iron circulate throughout every single meal that you have. So things to consider, guys. All right. Even if you're detoxing, if you want to incorporate pumpkin seeds or chia seeds into your detox, that is something that you can drink as well. So things to think about. You don't have to just resort to eggs and to red meat, because red meat are things that as a food that we recommend to not consume when you're on your cycle, because of the carcinogens that are in the meats, the toxins that are added to the meats, and also the actual ingredients that they're feeding the cow that are not great. So extra steroids, extra toxins, things that they're placing in the meats, GMOs and things of that sort, so it can have longer shelf life. Those things are not conducive to our wounds. Those things cause cancer. They cause cysts. They cause fibroids, endometriosis, infertility, inflammation, horrible cramps, horrible flow, irregular cycles. So these are things that we really need to start honing in on and considering as we're trying to develop our actual routine and our regimen that's going to make our menstrual cycle a better journey for us. All right, guys. So other nutrient deficiencies to be mindful of during your cycle is vitamin D. Most people would think, well, why is vitamin D important to your cycle? Well, most cancers and most cyst growth in the body has to do with a lack of vitamin D in the body. And it could also have a negative effect on the white cells that you have in your body. So it is important to get the best form of vitamin D, which is through the sun. Believe it or not, I know with autoimmune diseases, they advise to maybe not be in the sun because it can have an effect on that diagnosis. But the sun provides adequate amounts of legitimate vitamin D. When you have the right amount of protein and nitrogen in your body, and your skin has that contact from the sun, it activates vitamin D within your system. So that is the best form that you can get. Yes, there are foods that are fortified with vitamin D, but my thing is, if it's fortified and it has to be placed onto the food, why not just go directly to the source itself and get it for yourself? So I recommend having at least sun exposure, a minimum of 30 minutes a day. We've talked about exercising a minimum of 30 minutes a day. So maybe doing a 10-minute walk in the morning, a 10-minute walk during your lunch break, and a 10-minute walk in the evening should suffice. But you want to make sure that you are getting direct sunlight. All right. Another nutrient to be mindful of during your cycle is calcium. A lot of people have calcium deficiencies as well that can cause inflammation in the body. It can cause toxins to be released and your hormones to be irregular. So that can cause acne, that can cause the mood swings, that can cause to be overly emotional. You're not understanding why you're really angry, or you're wanting to cry the next minute and then you're wanting to laugh. So we want to ensure that you can get calcium also from kale. Legumes, we mentioned earlier, so beans, lentils, chickpeas, whole grains. We want to also check into having seaweed or algae in the body. So a form of spirulina, sea moss is also a great option. You might hear about moringa or chlorella. Those are also great forms that you can get to. So things to consider. You want to also think about whole grains. We mentioned that with the legumes, but having oats, wild rice, quinoa, things like that. Brown rice is also a good option, but that would be like the last option I would go to if I couldn't get to quinoa or wild rice. You want to consider fruits. So like citrusy fruits, maybe oranges is a good option. Currants is a really, really great option for you. Currants is not only an alkaline fruit, but is a great overall detoxer for the body. It is also helps to cleanse the blood. So it can let you have a healthy blood flow and also not have blood clots form or have unwanted, blood stick to your uterine walls that can cause like that fishy smell or an odor that can cause you to have an imbalance with your pH balance. So things to consider. And then other nutrients that could be deficient during your cycle is omega-3 fatty acids. We mentioned that earlier. A lot of people tend to get that from like salmon and tuna, but you can get those from nuts and seeds. Why? Because they're polyunsaturated, monounsaturated. They don't have any trans fats or added fats, seeds fats, which are not the best for you. So you want to ensure that you're adding an ample amount of nuts and seeds into your body. And we've given you the example of our favorite options already. So when it also comes to iron, there are many practices now that people are engaging in that helps you to restore your blood. Now, although I am not there yet with engaging in some of these practices, I have been doing a lot of research. I have been speaking with different individuals to see how they like the practice, how it works for them, and why they do it, how long they've been doing it, what has been the benefits of it. So some of these options with restoring your blood, yes, that means like you're not allowing your blood to go directly onto the pad or the tampon. You might have a menstrual disc or a menstrual cup that you can capture the blood. And when you pull the disc out, you actually can save it by pouring it into like a mason jar or some form of container. But I have learned a lot over the last few years about people using blood to put back on their face. Yes, they are using their own menstrual blood to put back on their face. It has actually been a technique that has been going on for centuries. But you even hear about if you go to like a higher end esthetician, that they will even use menstrual blood. That all those nutrients that you're losing in the blood are placed in there. So people are putting that back onto their face to ensure that they are putting those nutrients back into their pores. Your skin happens to be the biggest cell that you have in your body. So anything, your skin basically absorbs everything, guys, that you put on it. So that's why I was mentioning about making sure that you have vitamin D on your body. I've mentioned to you before, being careful about what you put on your body. So like the chemicals that are in like your shampoos, your facial products, your like we just talked about estheticians. So like facials, things that you are using, nail polish, makeup, all of those things play into your menstrual cycle because those chemicals will seep into your pores, and over time those chemicals will develop into other issues in the body. So we want to be mindful that we're using all natural and or organic products. But there are a lot of people that use their menstrual blood for facials and to restore the nutrients back in their bodies. I've also have heard a lot about the blood being used for plant life. Pouring it into your plants to nourish your plants is a big technique that has been used and is continuing to be used. I've seen a lot of people that are painting with it. So you're finding a lot of menstrual artists that are using their blood or maybe even other people's bloods to create canvases and artwork. And I also have heard about the blood being used for rituals for sexual cleansing. So maybe you're getting out of a bad breakup, maybe it was abusive, maybe it was toxic. So you could use the menstrual blood as you're cleansing your body to also cleanse that negative and unwanted toxic energy. Lastly, and this is one that I have not wrapped my head around, but a lot of people do it, is to drink their actual menstrual blood to put the nutrients back directly into their body. So just like how you hear about women that are pregnant, that keep their placenta, that might eat their placenta or have it transferred into supplement capsules for them to consume, because all those nutrients the baby can need, your body can be restored with, so it can help you with breastfeeding, but also just putting the nutrients back into your body that has been given to the baby after having the baby. Same thing goes for your menstrual blood. You can drink your actual menstrual blood to refill your body with those nutrients. The reason why people drink the blood or even utilize their menstrual blood is because it contains 3 electrolyte nutrients, which happen to be magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. And although you can get those things from fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds and plant products, you can also just get it back from your blood. So just some things to consider, guys. So that is going to wrap up today's episode. Again, guys, today's episode, we talked about the 3rd chapter in Energy's formula to kick cramps as, which is the world's leading deficiency iron. We talked about various forms of iron that you can get that are the healthiest forms and the most reliable. We also talked about other ways that you can utilize your period blood, and meal options are ways that you could utilize to incorporate iron into every single meal that you're consuming each day. So we just want to give you a couple of announcements and news. So coming up next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday, this weekend, is our Kick Cramps Ass workshop located in Las Vegas at the Queendom Cultivation Metaphysical Store. It is going to be on Sunday, May 28th, which happens to be Menstrual Hygiene Day, guys. We are trying to wrap up strong for Menstruation Month. We're coming into Period Poverty Week. Period Poverty Week starts today, May 22nd, and it ends on May 28th, which happens to be Menstrual Hygiene Day. And then, of course, like we said, Menstrual Hygiene Day is May 28th. So many great things going on, and we just want to help you acquire menstrual equity to combat period poverty and achieve optimal womb wellness. So we're going to be having giveaways. You could check out that information on our website at kickcrampsass.org. You can also go to us on Instagram at kickcrampsass, and you can go to the link in our bio to check out all the different events we have going on and to be able to register for this event if you are in the Las Vegas area. Coming out on June 6th. June 6th happens to be our 1-year anniversary that Kick Cramps Ass, the book, was released. So excited about that. But I am an executive board of director member on the Sober Black Girls Club, which is a nonprofit combating alcoholism and promoting a sober life. I have been sober from alcohol. It will be 3 years on June 28th. So that is very important to me. So I will be speaking to the LGBTQ plus group. Yes, that is because I am a person of color. I am a lesbian, and I am a woman. So those 3 things are very important to me. I mentioned to you also part of the underrepresented group, which of those 3 categories are also veterans and individuals with disabilities. Since I was an individual with disability, it has reversed them. I want to help others do the same. And shout out to veterans. They're all throughout my family, but I'm also married to one. So all of these things are very important to me. So I love speaking to these actual demographics and those targeted audiences to uplift them and empower them through their journey. So I'm so excited to be speaking on June 6th with the Sober Black Girl Club. It will be a virtual event, and we will be discussing my sobriety journey. We're going to be reading a chapter out of Energy's formula that talks about alcohol and just talking about how we can have better health overall. And then the last event that I want to announce is going to be the Dignified Menstruation event. It will be located in Los Angeles, California on Saturday, June 10th. You could also go to our website at kickcrampsass.org to register for the event. If you are going to be in the area, we will be hosting a workshop there and actually be a vendor. So you can come talk to us. You can grab a book, get it signed, engage, and also be a part of giveaways that I'll be giving at that point as well. So to recap, guys, it has been an amazing Menstruation Monday. We talked about iron, we talked about events, we talked about resources, we talked about all of these great things that we can help with our journey. So just please, I just ask that you just look and research more on your own to see what works for you, because it has definitely worked for us. Be sure to like our podcast, subscribe to it, share it with somebody that can use this information. There's so many of us that menstruate. There's millions of us globally. So please, please, please share. You can like on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Again, our videos are on Spotify and YouTube, so be sure to like our YouTube channel as well. Shout out to JG Cicero for the banging intro. Just want to send gratitude for you to you all for tuning in to get your menstrual education up. And I just want to be able to manifest a positive, peaceful, and productive menstrual journey ahead, guys. Have a great period poverty week. Be sure to check us out on Kick Cramps Ass on Instagram, because we will be having challenges and giveaways as well. And I want to make sure that you guys are a part of that. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our website to keep up the latest news, events, and resources, because we did just release a blog and we will be sending many resources throughout the longevity of this organization. So we'll be talking to you soon, guys. I hope that you definitely enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.